Hi, I'm Chad, and let's go over the best fertilizer for zoysia grass. Now, before we do, we need to know about zoysia grass, what it likes and how it grows to make sure we pick the right fertilizers for the right times. And before we go any further, if you found my videos helpful, please like and subscribe. It really helps support this channel, and email me at turforganics904@gmail.com for an online consultation or any information on my lawn kits. Let's get right into this video. Now, zoysia is a slower growing grass and prefers less nitrogen than other warm season turf. So we're talking 1/2 pound to 2 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per year. Now that's half as much nitrogen as St. Augustine grass. Of course, how much nitrogen you need depends on the soil types. If you have a sandier soil, you'll be on the higher end of nitrogen. The loomy and clay soil will be on the lower end of nitrogen. You can use a soil probe to probe your soil and check what type of soil you have to know if you'll be on the higher scale of nitrogen or not. Now, the best way to feed zoysia grass is more often at lower rates. You're always going to want to use at least a 50% slow release nitrogen when using nitrogen with zoysia grass. Now, zoysia likes to spoon feed nutrients throughout the year rather than a big feed in the spring and fall like we do for St. Augustine and other warm season turf grasses. Zoysia is going to be dormant the longest. It's going to be the first grass to go brown in the fall and the last grass to be green in the springtime. You actually want to do your spring fertilization to zoysia is going to be usually around 15 to 30 days later than you would for normal St. Augustine grass. You want to wait until your zoysia grass is naturally green, so it starts to green up in the springtime before you go ahead and feed it with its spring treatment. I know that can be very frustrating because most places don't have all zoysia, and your neighbors with other turf types are going to be greening up before you. But that's just how zoysia is, and you chose zoysia grass, so you're going to have to live with those decisions. You get a softer, better grass, but the downside is it stays brown longer. So don't be concerned when your neighbors' Centipede, Bahia, St. Augustine, Bermuda lawns are greening up first and your lawn is not. That does not mean to feed it to match everyone else's lawn. Be patient, let the lawn start to slowly wake up and green up on its own, and then that's time to do its spring application. If you fertilize too early while the zoysia grass is still dormant or we still have cold temperatures, you can do more damage than good and actually stunt the time it will take for your zoysia to start to grow and thicken up. Now, another important nutrient fact when we have to consider when fertilizing zoysia, and it's different than most warm season turf grass, is zoysia actually needs more potassium. So when you're feeding it, you're going to use an equal amount of nitrogen to potassium, where in other turf grasses you will change that amount, but not with zoysia. Zoysia thrives off of potassium. We want to give an equal amount of potassium to whatever nitrogen that we use. So let's jump into the spring fertilization. So for springtime, you're going to want to use a 16-4-8 or a 15-0-15. And the spring is the only time you might want to use more nitrogen than potassium, and that's really only going to be in your sandier soils. And that's just because the sandier soils usually need more nitrogen because they lack it so much. So if you're in a very sandy area, you're going to want to use that 16-4-8, but if you've got loamier or clay-like soil, just go ahead and use the 15-0-15. Now you want to apply these fertilizers at low rates because we'll be fertilizing zoysia more often. So for zone 10, you're fertilizing year around. You pretty much don't stop. You'll just continue fertilizing and treating the grass. The grass really never goes dormant in those zones. But for zone 9, early to mid April is going to be a good time, and zone 8 is going to be mid to late April to do that spring application. And again, make sure the grass is green on its own before you start fertilizing. Don't fertilize it to make it green. Let it wake up on its own, come out of the dormancy before you give it food. Yes, your lawn is going to be the last one to be green on the street if you have zoysia and other people have different types of turf, but that's part of having zoysia grass. Because healthy grass is more important than green grass. Now, for the summertime, you want to use low rates of 15-0-15 and 10-0-10 every 45 to 60 days. If you have sandier soil, you're going to use the 15-0-15, and if you have loamy to clay soil, you want to use the 10-0-10. Remember, this needs less nitrogen than other grasses, so these are very low fertilization rates that we are talking about. We're just trying to keep the zoysia slowly fed throughout the year. That's why we want to use low rates, because remember, zoysia needs half the amount of nitrogen than St. Augustine grass. We're only doing 1/2 pound to 2 pounds per 1,000 square feet per year. If you want to green up your zoysia, do not add more nitrogen. Use iron to get the grass green in the look that you want. Now, if you have nitrogen blackout dates, unfortunately, you will need to fertilize the lawn more like St. Augustine grass. A big spring fertilization, then spoon feed with micronutrients in the summer. You can add in the summer with the micronutrients is potassium to help. So check out my videos on fertilization of St. Augustine grass for more information. And that's only if you have nitrogen blackout dates, because unfortunately, you won't really be able to feed the zoysia in the summertime like you should because of those nitrogen blackout dates, because we're gonna use low amounts of nitrogen all year rather than a big feed in the spring and a big feed in the fall. So if you have those blackout dates, unfortunately, you're going to be stuck following the St. Augustine fertilization program for your zoysia, which is okay. It's not the end of the world, but we're not feeding it ideal. But remember, when doing the micronutrients in the summertime, and potassium, because zoysia needs more potassium than other warm season turf. Now for the fall fertilization, you don't need to do anything special. Zoysia will be the first type of grass to go dormant, so you'll just keep spoon feeding it with your summer fertilization, remember, every 45 to 60 days until your zoysia grass starts to go brown into dormancy and cooler nights start to come in. Once you start to see that brown and you get cold nights, stop feeding your zoysia. But it's gonna be a simple low amount of nitrogen, that 10-0-10 or 15-0-15, and add iron as needed every 45 to 60 days, all the way from summer into the fall until your grass starts to go brown. Don't feed it more when it starts to go brown in the fall to make it green. It's going into its natural dormancy, then you need to allow that to happen, because you will damage the zoysia if you're feeding it nitrogen and cold temperatures come in. For the winter fertilization, you're just gonna do potassium and humic acid every 45 to 60 days until the springtime. Make sure to use potassium with low to no chlorine levels. Zoysia is very sensitive to chlorine and can burn easily, and some cheaper potassiums have extremely high levels of chlorine in them that won't affect most other warm season turf grasses, but will start to see burning in zoysia turf. You're gonna do that all the way into your mid to late April, again, until the grass naturally starts to green up, and then that's when you start your spring to summer program. So this zoysia program is actually quite simple. There's not too much to it. If you could, you're almost doing the same thing year round at low rates. You're just slowly feeding it that small amount of nitrogen slowly throughout the year rather than at one time. Add iron and micronutrients as needed, of course, but that's gonna be the best way. The most difficult thing is gonna be being patient, because it's gonna be brown so much longer, and you're gonna see other grasses be green while yours isn't. So that's part of having zoysia. There's lots of ups and downs to having zoysia, and one of the downsides is how long it's gonna be brown, but that's part of the natural process. So let zoysia do its thing, to not force it to grow too much, because that's gonna create heavy thatch and more problems down the road. I'll make a full guide on how to care for zoysia but this is just fertilization. We'll get a whole guide, but too much fertilizer can create thatch in Zoysia turf, which thatch is already a big issue with Zoysia because of how thick it grows. And adding more nitrogen to that can definitely cause more issues. And that's been how to fertilize your Zoysia grass. Finally, something different than St. Augustine, tailored to exactly Zoysia turf grass. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below in the comments. Like and subscribe, it really helps the channel. I appreciate the support more than you guys know. You can also email me at turforganics904@gmail.com. I have these awesome DIY lawn kits for sale that help you take control of your lawn with guide by guide how to use these products, as well as online consultation. I'll make you a custom lawn program for your lawn, and I'll also help you figure out where you need to start and what steps you need to do things. That's what a lot of people have said to me, is they found help out of my consultation if they had a troubled lawn and they didn't know where to begin. Do they fertilize first, treat weeds, soil? What do they do first? I will give you a step-by-step guide what to do first, how to get your lawn into shape, and then I'll give you a program of how to keep it looking good. I appreciate all the support, and everyone have a great rest of your day.